Okay, perfect. I'm excited to be here with you guys today. I have a dual monitor set up, so if I have videos, everything over here. So you might see me looking over to the side once in a while, but as always, I think you guys have heard this a lot. I wish I could be with you guys in person today. Just being able to interact and engage with you guys is a lot more of a better learning environment, but as is, I'm excited to be here with you guys. I feel like it wasn't that long ago that I was in your shoes, but don't let me fib you. It's been about 5-6 years, but just be on the lookout. This might be you guys in the next 5-6 years, but I'm excited to share my story with you guys. I am nowhere near a professional at this point. I'm just fairly new into my career, but I'm excited to show you guys where I'm at and how I got here. So going forward, let's hope technology is on my side today as well. But so just kind of starting, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background of where I'm at. As I said, I graduated in 2015 from a small town in Soda Springs, so pretty local to the area. Went to Idaho Falls a lot for sporting events. Went to a lot of the high schools around there, but I then went straight into college right out of high school. I think as a lot of students, I went in with, I know exactly what I want to do, and that was to be a dentist. Started as I wanted to be a dentist. I did one semester of all those prerequisites to be a dentist, and then soon found out that was not the one for me. I think I actually went like a week into like the first semester and I was like, nope, that's not it. I then went to so many different options. I went to political science, I went to organizational behavior, so many different degree plans along my way. And how do I say it? I don't regret it. I think I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about the direction that I should have gone. So I actually graduated in May of 2018 with an associate's degree in criminology. And I was so excited. I love politics, and I love law, and I love being able to be investigative and use that creative side of my brain to be able to fight crime and to be able to prevent a better world for all of us to be in. So I did my internship in my last semester, spring semester of 2018. And a lot like my classes, I got into the internship about halfway and decided this wasn't the route that I wanted to take for me anyways. And I knew that I needed to go on and do more schooling. So that is when I jumped ship. I still wanted to be able to use my criminology background a little bit, but I wanted to be able to add a different layer to be able to make my experience unique so that I could stand out in the field and that I could find the position that I wanted without having to go through the typical law enforcement for 8 years to get to that degree plan. So right after May of 2018, I jumped right into August. I jumped into the industrial cybersecurity program at ISU. And so that is a 2-year degree, but because of all my previous schooling, I also was able to accomplish my bachelor's degree during that time as well. So I officially graduated in May of 2020, just this spring. Like I said, I'm new to the professional world, but it's kind of a unique experience for me to be able to share. And then just this last August in 2020, I was able to accept a full-time position within the Idaho National Laboratory. I did a lot of internships that I'll explain later on in this presentation with them, but because I was able to do those internships and because I went through all the schooling that I did, I finally got to the point that I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm finally happy with where I'm at in my degree plan. So I wanted to start a little bit with industrial cybersecurity. We hear cybersecurity a lot. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard a couple presentations on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is everywhere. However, industrial cybersecurity is not as much heard about. There's a lot of misconceptions with what industrial cybersecurity actually means. So I have this graph. Within my first semester of the industrial cybersecurity program, I was shown this graph, and first I was like, what does this mean? But this whole picture put everything into perspective for me. Cybersecurity is huge, and I'm pretty sure, so I got this from about 2 years ago. Pretty sure this domain graph has exponentially grown since then. But as you look at these there's a cybersecurity overall domain in the middle, and then it breaks out into these different things. And this was like that all moment to be like, this is the pathway for me. Within cybersecurity, there are so many different avenues that you can go through. For example, there's a threat intelligence, user education, security operation, career development. And actually, in my current role at INL, I would say I do a good portion of all of these. I do a little bit of risk assessment, a little bit of governance. I do a lot of framework and standards, and then I'm also on this user education side. I'm able to go out to high schools and I'm able to help actually go through the college that I went through. I'm actually helping teach some of those classes as well. But because this domain is so big, there is ever-ending growth for you to be able to find your way, find what exactly pathway that you want in cybersecurity, and be able to make do with what you want. But the other cool thing is too, it's so big that if you decide this is what I want, and a year down the line it changes, you're able to jump ship because this all falls into the same domain of cybersecurity. But overall, industrial cybersecurity, we are looking at securing the systems that control our power plants, oil and gas pipelines, and manufacturing facilities. So there's a lot of, in Soda Springs, there's a lot of mining companies, Monsanto, now Bayer, Agrium. These are a lot of those power plants that we're talking about here. We're talking about everyday gas pipelines, being able to put fuel into your vehicle, being able to get gas into your house to be able to heat your house. These are the industrial settings that we are looking to protect. So this website here is called Shodan. It is an open intelligence resource. So it is just like Google. You don't have to have any special privileges to be able to get into. But I wanted to show you guys a screenshot of what Shodan does. Shodan collects all these resources from all of these different industries from all over the world. And it shows the open vulnerabilities that each of these companies have throughout the world. So here, for example, I just did a quick search on SCADA. So SCADA is basically one of the main controlling things within these power plants. And these, just in that simple search of searching SCADA, I pulled up 3,000 results throughout the US, or sorry, throughout the world of open SCADA ports that anyone could be able to go into and just be able to cause havoc, be able to cause damage. These industrial plants are very vulnerable. A lot of times they don't realize how vulnerable they are either. A lot of them are stuck in the old mindset. Well, it works. We need to be able to keep creating this material. We need to keep creating the business, the money aspect of it. And so they're not worried about security themselves. But as you can see, just by one simple search, there's 3,000 open vulnerabilities that you can go into and just go into the system and be able to look at everything that is just open. It's just there. So industrial cybersecurity, we look at protecting the computer side of these industrial plants. So this is the first time I ever heard about it was through ISU. I was in this program, this industrial cybersecurity engineering technology program with Sean McBride at Idaho State University. Like I said, it's a 2-year course. I was one of the first groups to go through it. It is ever growing since then. There's a lot of materials that are being upgraded and being developed and bringing in new insights, bringing in new opportunities, as well as new partnerships. INL has a huge hand in this program, but there's a lot more that is being developed. But the main program description, so it's ISU's College Technology offers the nation's first hands-on industrial cybersecurity degree, preparing you to secure the systems that control power plants, oil and gas pipelines, and manufacturing facilities. So that's exactly the statement that I stole from before. So in this program, you learn to communicate with both industrial operations and IT personnel, ensure safety while performing work orders, maintain industrial control system device inventory, track evolving risks, aid in conducting cybersecurity assessments, update industrial cyber control system software and firmware. This is just the top of what we went into. So it's a 2-year degree, so you go a lot further into a lot of these different things. But the stats show that Idaho's median income for this is $65,000, but the national is $82,000. I predict that's only going to grow more as cybersecurity becomes more of a common thing throughout the US. But since this is like kind of the first time I had heard of industrial cybersecurity, I had no idea what to expect. Sean reached out to me and basically was like, hey, it's really cool that you have a criminology background, and I think cybersecurity would be the next level to add on top of it to be able to combine these 2 unique different plans together to be able to get you to your end goal. So I was like, sure, let's do it. I don't know what I want to do with school, so let's just keep going on with school. So jumped right into the program, and man, the first year was so rough. I had no idea what to expect. And because of that, I wanted to share with you a lot of the projects that I did throughout this 2 years so you guys can kind of get a better grasp on what industrial cybersecurity is. But I also want to show it was not easy. It's not an easy course at all, but the ISU's College of Technology is phenomenal at being able to bring in anyone from the basics of levels and being able to get everyone, so when they graduate, they're eligible to be able to go right out into the workforce. So here was my first semester. I kid you not. So I was in a group of about 18. There was only 2 females in the group, and it was tough. I felt like a lot of the guys knew what they were doing because I never really grew up with tools. I never really grew up with electricity. I never grew up with a lot of these electronics things that you learn in the first year. So the first year of the program is heavy on the industrial side. You can't learn how to protect it until you know what the industrial side is. So we learned a lot about pumps and motors and how all these different pieces within these industrial settings piece together to learn how to protect it. And that's where a lot of the gap is in industrial cybersecurity. You have the one side that's IT folks, and then you have the other side that's OT, operational technology. So you have the ones that are operating the plants and know everything. They know how the motors work. They know the pumps. And then you have the IT over here that have no clue how to bridge that gap. And so that's one of the biggest tasks, I think, within industrial cybersecurity right now, is to bridge that. That's the whole point of Sean's program, is that first year, we went into a lot of industrial. So the top left is an electronics course we did. So a lot of the basics of how can we run electricity from point A to point B to be able to make things run? How do we do circuits? How do you make a circuit for a light switch in your house? That was not easy. That was really hard, but I will say I just barely bought a house, a fixer-upper, and I was able to do a lot of my own light switch, a lot of my own electricity testings, and verifying that everything is correct because of my experience in this class. But a lot of the other ones, so we did a lot of heat transfer, so learning how different ways to produce heat throughout different electricity forms, and so those were a lot of those labs that are pictured here. Also within the first year, we did a lot of diagrams and schematics. So we would walk up to the one in the top right, this piping and instrument diagram, that everything is hooked up from pumps, motors, and then you have everything connecting it. This one in specific was a heat transfer station. And so it was shown how the heat is transferred through various different components in the industrial setting. So you would walk up to these foreign concepts to you. I had no idea what any of this was. And then by the end, we would make schematics. We would learn how all the parts work together. We learned how to protect it and so on and so forth. We also did a lot of HMI. So that's in the middle right. The HMI is a human machine interface. So these are the actual computers that operators use to operate these systems. We actually were able to design our own HMI, which was a lot of work. But we also did a lot of PLC work as well, to be able to, the programmable logic controller, being able to say, okay, on round 3, you have to operate for 6 seconds, or on round 4, you have to go for 10 seconds. Everything in these industrial plants is customizable according to what is best for your company, your organization. So that's what we did primarily our first year. And then our second year, we went into more of the IT concepts. I laugh because the top right photo is called the Cat6 cord. I had no idea what it was. I wasn't an IT individual. I came from criminology. I came from the law aspect. My current fiance, he does come from the IT world though, and so he knew exactly what it was. But that's the cool thing about the College of Technology, is they brought us everyone from ground zero and brought everyone up along the way so that we were all on the same level playing ground, so that we could be able to learn the same materials. So we actually built that cord and we were able to test it. We did a lot of server racks, which I'm sure probably is the most familiar thing for a lot of you guys watching this right now. So the server racks included all the different components that make like an organization run. So that's seen in the bottom. And then we also did a lot of red versus blue competitions. So that's basically, you have a good team and a bad team, and the good team is running at normal operation. You are acting as an industrial environment. And then the red team is trying to hack in. And so the blue team is over here trying to protect their system and trying to figure out ways to prevent them from getting in. So we did a lot of it. There's actually a really lot of cool scenarios that you can actually just do on your spare time. I know runs a couple, the NITEC program at Idaho State University also runs one, but there's a lot of just online ones that you can sign up for free. So I would highly suggest that if anyone is looking at getting in this, look up the Red versus Blue challenges. I'm sure you could find one anywhere. Along the way, I was also, because I was one of the 2 females in the program, I was able to engage in a lot of activities to bring in high school students and to be able to engage with high school students, but also college students as well. So I went to a lot of fairs and we did a lot of this activity to be able to show you what we do, because it's a hard concept to understand unless you actually do it. So I did a lot of middle school age groups and high school age group engagement activities to be able to show those ideas. And then within my last semester, I did a lot of actual hands-on, I would say real world experience projects. So one of the first ones is this notional risk assessment. I had links in it, and I decided to go the Prezi route, so the links actually don't work anymore. But I do want to include the links on there. So if anyone wants to go look at these, I do have them open so you guys are able to go and I'm okay if you guys want to go look at them on your own time. But the first one is the notional risk assessment. So basically what we did for this one is we each picked an organization that we wanted to, and you were supposed to take a risk analysis of this organization external from it. I was a unique experience and actually worked for Idaho State University at the time as well in their public safety department. And so I did it internal. So I went into my current role as just as an office clerk in public safety. And I looked at all the weaknesses that we held within our own organization and looked at, we had passwords just sitting out on the desk. We had reused passwords. We had for employees that had left like years in advance, years before, but they were still in our systems. And so I pulled all those vulnerabilities together, did this assessment, and then I presented it actually to my boss at public safety as well as for class as well. So this is actually one whole class that you'll do over the semester, and you look at all the different components of risk and how to conduct these assessments. Another one I did is a cybersecurity marketing research project. This was a really fun one that I looked at a current issue within cybersecurity. I picked a very generic one, such as email security. A lot of people get spams, a lot of people get unwanted junk mail. So I looked at email security as a whole, and I looked at 3 different organizations that offered solutions to email security. And I went in and I was able to look at how much their products cost, what their variance is between the different products they offer among these 3 different organizations. But like I said, this was one class, but it was about half a semester that it was just primarily research. You just went in and you pulled all the data that you could open source, just finding on Google on these organizations. And then I presented this at the end. In that same class, we also did a vulnerability, a current news issue. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the SolarWinds cyber attack that's happening right now. Staying up on current events right now is huge within the cybersecurity world because it is growing so fast. There is so much material, new ways that are attacking. Everything is coming so fast through the cyber world. Staying up on these cyber events is huge. And so one of these is being able to do research on a current cyber event. At that time, I looked at America's power grid and the vulnerability that was within there. And then the last one I did is a capstone project. I actually did my capstone project as an intern at the Idaho National Laboratory, and so I was able to do professional development, and my goal was to be able to get an end job of where I wanted to be at the end of graduating. But like I said, please feel free to go through and look at these links if you get time, if you want to look at and see, just kind of get an idea of what we had to do for these projects. Let's see. All right, so next I wanted to jump into the Idaho National Laboratory. So that's where I'm currently at right now. And I was able to, like I said, do a lot of internships. So a lot of experience with them. Briefly, just want to go into what I have done with each division. INL is huge with research and nuclear energy technologies, but also protecting critical infrastructure. So that's where a lot of the cybersecurity comes into. I had no clue that INL did as much cybersecurity as they do. But talking to East Coast individuals that I work with currently for my role, a lot of them are blown away. INL is one of the biggest cybersecurity houses, And so it's really cool to be able to work with these different projects within INL. So my first summer, I worked with workforce development in the infrastructure assurance and analysis group. So their main goal in this group is, as it says, 30% of INL's workforce is at least 50 years of age and approaching retirement. A lot of the individuals that are currently working in cybersecurity are reaching the end of their terms. They're wanting to retire, they're wanting to move on, but we don't have the workforce development ready. We don't have that pipeline ready for kids to go to high school, to graduate, to be able to go to college, and then straight into the workforce. There's just not that pathway set up right now. And so our main project we looked at is creating cybersecurity professionals of the future. So we did a lot of research on current cybersecurity programs that are throughout the US right now, and how each one is unique, how each one is different. And then I also looked at apprenticeships and internship stats and how beneficial those are for the students that are going through this program. The one that so this summer, I was actually able to intern with the CCE group, and then I also got brought in full-time with them. So kind of did a little bit of this during the summer, but this is what my role is right now. I'm a cybersecurity control system analyst at the INL. So one of this is the CCE. So CCE is a division within CyberCore that focuses on taking the worst case scenario off of the table. We kind of learned that if hackers want to find a way, they will find a way to get into your system. But by going through the CCE the process, you try to mitigate that and protect your system as much as you can. And then also learn, so if it does come in, what can you do to safely and as speedily as you can be able to get them out of your system, be able to move on with normal operations. So CCE is comprised of four different steps, phases is what they call them. And all of this information is actually online as well. If you want to go look at CCE at INL, they have everything broken down. So phase one, you look at your consequence prioritization. So this is looking at your high value assets. What in your organization is so important that if a hacker got his hands on it, you could not function. And going through and being able to identify all of those different things within your systems. Phase two is a system of system analysis. So you take those most important high value assets and break it down. You look at every aspect of how could someone possibly get in. You just go down to the very core through all of it. The third is consequence-based targeting. So there's actually some targeters that like practice to get into your system, because you really don't know how to protect it unless you are able to see how actually people are able to get in. And once you see how people are able to get in, you can prevent those, put those roadblocks up so that they can't maneuver their way through the system as much as you can control it, I guess I should say. And then phase four, you look at mitigations and protections. So this is what can I do to prevent this? What protections can I put in place to be able to make sure this vulnerability isn't open? And then the other project that I'm currently working on is called the Cybersecurity Capability Maturity Model. So this is a cybersecurity, let's say policies handout. A lot of people know of the NIST framework right now. It's a lot of different cybersecurity policies that organizations follow to be able to ensure their organization is up to what it should be, because a lot of these organizations don't even know what cybersecurity is. So the C2M2 is the US Department of Energy program that enables organizations to voluntarily measure the maturity of the cybersecurity capabilities in a consistent manner. So they go step by step. There's 10 different domains or 10 different topic areas that they go step by step to be able to measure how safe they are, how safe are their systems. So I've been able to work on this quite a bit. Right now they are on version 1 and we are actually working on a version 2. So I've been able to reach out to a lot of East Coast individuals and work on this. We do a lot of technical sweeps that we pretend that we are our organizations going through this model, and we are looking at ways how we can improve it and how we can ever change. As I said before, cybersecurity is always advancing. It's always moving up in the field. And so we, as these policyholders, have to be able to meet this continual advancement and be able to meet how fast everything is growing. So that is just, I'm not joking, that's just the top of INL as well. There are so many divisions with INL. There's so many different projects within INL that has to do with cybersecurity. And I say I did 2 different internships with them, and I learned a lot about how they all work together for the main goal of protecting our critical infrastructure, how unique each of them are. My first one was more of a research project, but then the second one was more of an analysis, being able to take a whole bunch of data and be able to dig in and find these different issues with the document. So I would highly suggest, I went in, and to conclude, I kind of wanted to go into a little bit of cybersecurity advice. And this is purely my advice. This is based off of my experiences. It's nothing technical. It's nothing that anyone has actually released, but I wanted to be able to share. One of the main things that I found throughout my pathway on this is the benefit of documenting everything you're doing. LinkedIn is a huge outreach, relations with a lot of different people. I have had so many opportunities to come through LinkedIn because I was able to post different projects I was working in school, actually different projects I'm working with in Idaho as well. And it's really cool to be able to see what other people are doing throughout the US as well on cybersecurity. So I would highly suggest utilizing LinkedIn as a professional resource. This isn't a Facebook, this isn't an Instagram, anything of that sort. LinkedIn is definitely for the professional world, but looking at internships, looking at full-time positions, anything of that sort, definitely make sure you put yourself out on LinkedIn. Along with that, make sure you are documenting everything. My first semester, I went through and I made this, this big portfolio of everything I did my first semester. So I went completely down through the whole list. I looked at each class and what each class taught me. I put every single lab that we did in here. This has been really cool for me to be able to bring it into job interviews, to bring it into different outreach programs, to be able to look, hey, this is what I did my first semester. So make sure you're documenting these things that you're doing, these projects that you're proud of, that you have put a lot of work into. My second bit of advice, if you can, highly suggest getting any hands-on experience that you can. Like I said, go to these red blue trainings, go to these different hands-on, actually being able to experience what you want to do. That is the fastest way you will learn if this is the career path that you want to go on. Like I said, I went through classes, I went through internships, and a lot of the time I didn't know until the end, which would have saved me a lot of time if I did more research before. There's so much hands-on experience, especially also if you are actually going into a degree path. I would highly, highly suggest going through the College of Technology. They were phenomenal with me. All my classes were incredible. I loved getting my hands on, getting dirty, getting through these classes, these labs. I was able to actually put my hands on what was happening. And then my last bit, a lot of people think cybersecurity is very technical and very heavy on, I gotta know coding, I gotta be smart, I gotta be brilliant. Truth is, a lot of people in cybersecurity don't know what they're doing, but they do know how to ask the questions, and they do know how to ever learn and be able to continue on. It's not just technical. I'm telling you right now, I went through a bunch of coding classes and I was like, oh no, if this is what I have to do for my career, I don't want this. I haven't touched a bit of coding since I've gone into my career. There are so many different pathways, as I showed you at the first, to be able to get to where you want to. If coding is your thing, cool. I really respect that, and we need the coders out there. That's a very valuable skill to have. It just wasn't for me, and that's the cool thing. This field is not just technical. I would say I took more of a psychology route into cybersecurity. I'm able to analyze why people would want to hack into systems. I'm able to analyze how they might be able to, and how these links all chain together because of my criminology background. So my other piece with that is also take your piece of unique ability and advocate for that. I for sure can say I am where I'm at right now because I have this unique experience of having criminology background combined with the industrial cybersecurity program. So taking these two different things and making my own unique pathway really fascinates people. A lot of people grasp onto that to be like, wait, what do you do again? How does this work together? So utilize that. Find the unique thing within your own life that you want to be able to advance your career in, regardless of what path you do. Not even cybersecurity, if you do nursing, if you do any of these other degree paths, find the thing that makes you unique and be able to advocate and make yourself stand out within these internships, within these interviews, anything that you do, make sure you stand out. Let's see. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions. I attached my email and my LinkedIn on here as well. So if you have any questions outside of this, please feel free to write down my email, my LinkedIn, reach out to me however you want. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or anything of that sort. But for now, I'd like to open it up for questions.
If you're unable to mute and you'd like to type in the chat, I can also read those off for our speaker today. So while we maybe wait for some thoughts to come through, what do you think was a turning point when you were in like junior high and high school that kind of got you maybe a little interested in following this computer technology, computer sciences? Can you think of any types of events or activities that you took part in at that time?
From being from a small school, I actually really didn't get the opportunity to do a lot of those events. And that's kind of my biggest thing. I like to reach out to a lot of the smaller schools because Soda Springs doesn't have anything of that. They do have a coding class now. My biggest thing growing up, I always wanted to have a set pathway. It seemed like a lot of the students around me knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what they wanted to go into. And I was like, I don't have my thing. Like, what can I do to be able to get to that point in my life? So I kind of just jumped on computers at that point to be like, I love data analyzation. I love being able to get data coming through and being able to just dig it apart, being able to use my investigation skills to be able to find out how these different things pin together. So I think the main point for me getting into computers is me just picking the thing that I really enjoyed and sticking with it. I know a lot of people change throughout their pathways, and back then there really wasn't much opportunity from computers. We didn't even use computers in our everyday school life. We didn't have computers in our library. We didn't have anything of that. But being able to find and just explore and work with what you are interested by is what I would say.
Awesome.
So Roger had his hand open or up.
Yeah, thank you. So I am the program manager for Eastern Idaho for a youth apprenticeship program. It's a newly funded program for people 16 to 24 years old, and we're a new program. We're about 3 or 4 months into our operation, and we've been talking to the INL, the folks at the INL and CEI and ISU about creating 1 or more apprenticeships that would be connected to cybersecurity. They might be more of an entry-level kind of a position. And I'm just curious from your perspective. Here you are now, kind of beginning your career and have just come through some of this training, some of which may be similar to what an apprenticeship might include. Some of it may be more on the job. But based on your experience, and I understand you may not know much about apprenticeships specifically, but what do you think about the idea of having a parallel pathway that would focus more on the on-the-job part of the training, would allow for students to begin earning money right from day one and work their way toward the full journey worker status, where they'd be getting the full salary? Any thoughts about that kind of an opportunity?
Yeah, I am 100% an advocate for that as well. I actually had a meeting this morning with the whole working group. There's about 56 of us on there. In regards to that exact idea, we don't have a pipeline. We need to be able to push these students into these apprenticeships opportunities so that they can, not just so that they can discover if they like it and that's what they want to do going forward, but also so that we can train these individuals. I think cybersecurity, a lot of people expect you to just go in full board knowing what you're doing. But we don't have these pathways set up for these students to start at the very start to be able to get that hands-on experience and to be able to continually progress. And if you're progressing through these internship or these apprenticeships or internships, kind of the same idea, you're able to get brought on into the division that you're working on and being able to continue your work and being able to be caught up to speed with what they might expect from you as a full-time employee. But it's really hard coming in. I went through about 6 months of trying to find a full-time position, and a lot of them were like, we need 2 to 3 years of experience, and I didn't have that. But I think that apprenticeship right there eliminates that issue, as well as the pipeline that we don't have employees coming into cybersecurity, as well as students that don't know what they're doing. So yes, I 100% I'm on board with that apprenticeship, internship. Any way that we can, I am full advocate and trying my best to be able to provide that pathway for students.
I've pulled down your email address. You're going to be hearing from me. I'd like to talk a little further about that. Thanks.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, Roger.
So Sonia posted a question in the chat. She actually sent it directly to me. She said, to follow that question, what classes, prep classes should students take in high school to succeed in this program?
That's a really good question. I think one of the biggest ones, the ones that I struggled with the most in college, was actually technical writing. My mom teaches high school English in Soda Springs, and so I'd always been pretty proficient at English. I think one of the greatest things you can use is technical writing. Regardless if you're on the assessment side or the analysis side or education side, you're going to need to know how to write a technical document and also being able to digest the information that are in these technical documents. So one of the ones I would highly suggest in high school is any type of advanced English, technical writing, anything of that sort. And also, I hate to say it because I hated speech in high school so much, but any speaking opportunities that you can, so more advanced speech classes as well, definitely try to get, I know debate is a thing, try to get involved in a lot of that, because cybersecurity is a lot of that. You get the information, you have to digest it, and then you have to present it to the next person, be able to pass it on. So speaking or technical writing would be one of the biggest advocates, I think. And I think that would help you more outside of just cybersecurity as well. But of course, any computer science classes that you can get on, just learning the basics of what is a motherboard. I didn't know what a motherboard was until I got to college in my first semester. So any type of computer classes as well would be beneficial.
Looks like Kathleen also has a question.
Yes, I was just wondering, I mean, ISU has INL, and that's a great opportunity for students, but to, other parts of the state that might be interested in doing this and may not have that opportunity. I was just wondering what other students that graduated from the program were able to do upon graduation outside of the national labs.
Yeah, that is definitely something that they are trying to work on right now, bring in more partners. There's a lot of industrial settings that have brought on a lot of students. So a lot of the Siemens PLC companies, a lot of, the cow industry down in Twin Falls, a lot of those farms actually have brought on a couple of our students. For cybersecurity, it's kind of hard. A lot of cybersecurity positions want you to have at least a bachelor's degree. So I'd actually say about 3/4 of our class continued on their education and they're currently right now about to graduate in May. But I think it's ever growing. I think a lot more industries are realizing that associates individuals know what they're doing as well. And that's a barrier I'm trying to break as well. I definitely learned more in my associate's program than I did in my bachelor's program. So who knows, maybe here in a couple months more might open, but I also know a lot of banks and hospitals actually within the area are looking for a lot of those cybersecurity individuals as well.
You answered my other question. I was going to ask if your criminal justice degree was a bachelor's degree, and whether you thought that might have helped move forward your hiring at an organization versus having the associate or in the combination of. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, that's the way it is right now. I think we will get more to a society that associates is good and experience is good rather than having a bachelor's. But for sure, yeah, but the bachelor's helped me progress to where I'm at right now.
So one more question. We have about 5 minutes left, but I wanted to see if you could share with the students how you found some of the extra opportunities that you took advantage of, like your internships and some of those speaking events that you were able to take part in.
One of the really cool things about ISU, and of course I'm going to be an advocate because I graduated for them, but the ISU program actually had industry members come and talking to us twice a week. So they had these these presentations set up. So you could just learn about these different organizations throughout East Idaho, even down into Boise area. I didn't know a lot about the organizations that we had locally. So they would come to us and outreach to what they did. And that's where I think I got a lot of my outreach ability, because after these individuals would come, I would just go personally talk to them. Just not that I even wanted to work for them, but I wanted to learn more about East Idaho in particular and how many different industrial settings we have out here. So if you go through ISU, that's definitely a huge plus. They have so many partnerships throughout East Idaho that will come and talk to you. Besides that, I would say LinkedIn for sure. There's so many different conferences, activities, a lot of those different things that I didn't know were happening, but as I grew my network and I got more and more people on my feed, I was able to see these different activities coming in. INL is actually really good as well if you just keep updated on their page as well. They put a lot of external resources as well. So a lot of different activities are going on outside of INL, but INL themselves host a lot of different things. But then also build your network, build the people that you know, talk to your instructors as you get into college. Reach out to your instructors, reach out to different people. Everyone will help you in your career path. Being able to expound on my network too is greatly beneficial in those opportunities, and just finding and learning new people, even if you don't think they're going to be a benefit to you, they have something that you have no idea is going to happen. Just as Jennifer, I've been open to a lot of different possibilities through CEI just because of one presentation that I did. So make sure you're continually growing your network as well.
Wonderful. I just want to thank you for your time. It's a pleasure listening to you speak. And honestly, I wish that I had the drive then that you have now, because man, if all young adults came into this world prepared the way you are, man, can you imagine where we could be? But I just want to thank you for your time and for sharing this with us. For those viewing, I did want to share that CEI has a lot of opportunities. You can start your associates with us and always go on to any of the other universities in the state. And that's not just of CEI, the community colleges around the state are working really hard to create opportunities and to further the go-on rate. But if you're not quite ready for college yet, we also have opportunities through workforce training. Don't forget about your advanced opportunities here at the College of Eastern Idaho. That would be with Mary Stevenson. But just look for your opportunities. You can do amazing things no matter where you're at in your stage of life. So again, thank you, Katie, for speaking with us, and I appreciate everyone's attendance.
Thank you guys as well.
Have a great afternoon.